This video is going to introduce you to the idea of reciprocal trig ratios. First, let's discuss what a reciprocal is. The technical definition of a reciprocal is the number that when multiplied with the original gives you an answer of 1. The day-to-day definition of a reciprocal is just flipping the fraction. So, for example, if I look at the number 2, well, that's not really a fraction, but we could write it as 2 over 1. So the reciprocal is 1/2. Now, if I look at the fraction 3/2, the reciprocal of that is just 2/3. And if I look at the fraction -2/3, the reciprocal of that is -3/2. Please notice the sign never changes. So how can this idea be applied to trig ratios? Well, actually very easily. You'll notice that all trig ratios are fractions themselves. So they should also have reciprocals. And these reciprocals have special names, just like the fractions themselves. So, for example, the reciprocal of sine we're going to call cosecant. I'll spell it out. Cosecant, and that's abbreviated CSC of theta, and that's going to be the hypotenuse over the opposite. Notice I just flipped this fraction. The reciprocal of cosine is called secant, and that's abbreviated SEC of theta. Well, that's going to be the hypotenuse over the adjacent. And the reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. So that's abbreviated COT of theta. And that's going to equal the adjacent over the opposite. So let's see this in action in a right triangle. I've drawn a right triangle and labeled the sides as 3, 4, 5. And I've already went ahead and put in theta and put in that it's 3 is the adjacent, 4 is the opposite, and then 5 is the hypotenuse. So sine, well, I know that would be the opposite over the hypotenuse, so that would be 4 over 5. So cosecant, which remember the reciprocal of sine, is going to be 5 over 4. And you can think of that as either flipping the sign or as just looking for the hypotenuse over the opposite. So cosine now would be 3 over 5. So the reciprocal of cosine, which is secant, would be 5 over 3. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, would be 4 over 3. So the cotangent is just 3 over 4. So here are 3 for you to do for homework. Notice the triangle doesn't actually have any numbers, just x, y, and z. So your answers will have x, y, and z in them. Theta, notice, is up here, top left. Please remember that the secant, well, the secant's the reciprocal of cosine. The cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. And the cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Good luck.